Hello, everyone, and welcome to the beginning of this new series on the book of Hebrews. I say book because it doesn't begin like a letter, there's no greeting in it, it's got teaching in the middle, but it ends like a letter. So it seems to be a hybrid document. It was written for the Jewish Christians in Rome. That is, Christians who converted from Judaism. Historically, a few years before, there'd been a terrible persecution of Christians by the Emperor Nero. There was a great fire in Rome. The tenements for the ordinary people were cramped together, they were combustible, they were overcrowded, and eventually the conditions were such that a fire broke out and many lost their lives. People began to focus on Nero, that he should have done something about it. There are echoes of Grenfell here, aren't there? But Nero looked around and saw the small number of Christians as a likely group to scapegoat. And so he blamed the fire on Christians, and a terrible persecution broke out. This letter is written round about, if that was 65 AD, round about 3 or 4 years afterwards, when it looks like there's going to be another persecution. And the temptation for the Jewish Christians is to go back to the synagogue, because the Jewish religion was a permitted religion. Jews were allowed to live in their own way and go about their own business. And that had been established many years before Nero. And so the temptation was for the Jewish Christians to go back to the synagogue to safety. And so much of this letter to the Hebrews is saying, you can't go back. Christianity isn't just a branch of Judaism, it is a completely fulfillment of Judaism, and that in Christ there is only salvation, salvation in no other way and in no one else. And to deny Jesus when the trial comes is to do something unthinkable. And so he wants to strengthen them and encourage them not to do that. And he does that by teaching them about the high priesthood, which Jesus had said would be demolished, would be gone, and also the temple, which Jesus predicted would be destroyed, and so there would be no sacrifice and no priesthood. But there wasn't any need for them. They had become redundant because Jesus Christ was both high priest and he was operating in the real and true temple, which is in heaven. If you can cast your mind back to Exodus and God giving instructions on how to build the tabernacle to Moses, well, that was based on the temple in heaven. It was an earthly counterpart, of course, a small and feeble counterpart, but it was a counterpart. And so, as the temples were built, first one by Solomon, and then it was destroyed, and then it was rebuilt, and then in Nero's time, it was refurbished. So the writer's saying, no, there's no need for a temple because the real temple is where the real high priest is, and that's Jesus, and it's in heaven. So don't go back, because if you go back, then you will have lost everything of your salvation. So it's on that note that we begin to look more closely at what the writer is saying and how he is focusing that on these two things. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you understand Hebrews a bit better. Thank you. Bye-bye.